Welcome to today's deep dive. We're tackling a fascinating topic, one that sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie.
Oh, yeah.
Using artificial intelligence to analyze wastewater
Yeah.
and predict pandemics.
Yeah, it's really cutting-edge stuff, really pushing the boundaries of what we thought possible in public health.
It really is. We're going to unpack this research paper about a new AI model called METAGENE-1.
Right.
And trust me, this isn't your average AI.
No.
It's designed to be a metagenomic foundation model, kind of like a superpowered detective trained on a massive library of DNA and RNA sequences found in, of all places, wastewater.
The beauty of wastewater is that it gives us a snapshot of the entire community's health, not just those seeking medical care.
Yeah.
It's a rich source of genetic material from all sorts of organisms, including viruses and bacteria.
Okay, so wastewater is like a secret code revealing the health of a whole population. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I have to ask, why not just test people directly?
Well, direct testing can be invasive.
Oh, yeah?
And often only catches those already showing symptoms.
Right.
Wastewater analysis, on the other hand, is non-invasive and can provide early warning signs of an outbreak before people even know they're sick.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So how does METAGENE-1 actually work? I mean, how do you train an AI to analyze something as complex as wastewater?
Well, the researchers collected wastewater samples from across the U.S., filtered them, and then used sequencing technology to extract the DNA and RNA. This raw genetic data was then converted into a format that the AI could understand using a technique called byte-pair encoding. It's a bit like translating a complex language into something a computer can read, but instead of words, we're dealing with sequences of genetic code.
So they're basically feeding the AI a massive dictionary of genetic information.
Exactly.
But how does it make sense of all that data?
This is where the transformer algorithm comes in. It's a sophisticated type of AI that's particularly good at analyzing sequential data, like the strings of letters in genetic code. The transformer learns to recognize complex patterns in these sequences, allowing it to identify the presence of specific organisms, including those that might be harmful.
So it's not just looking for individual genes, it's understanding the entire context of the genetic sequence.
That's right.
That's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, and this ability to grasp the bigger picture is one of the reasons METAGENE-1 has shown such impressive accuracy in identifying pathogens.
Wow.
In fact, in their benchmark tests, it outperformed other models by a significant margin.
Really?
Achieving gains of 3 to 17 MCC points, which is a measure of how well it correctly classifies different organisms.
Okay, so it's clearly a powerful tool.
Yeah.
But what makes METAGENE-1 different from other AI models out there? What's its secret sauce?
It's the combination of the sheer scale of the training data. Remember, we're talking over 1.5 trillion base pairs.
Right, that's a lot.
And the sophisticated architecture of the transformer algorithm. This allows METAGENE-1 to achieve a level of sensitivity and accuracy that was previously unattainable.
So it's the right algorithm combined with a massive amount of data. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But I imagine training a model this large comes with its own set of challenges.
Absolutely. Training a model of this magnitude requires enormous computing power and careful fine-tuning to prevent errors.
Right.
The researchers had to overcome technical hurdles like node failures.
Node failures.
Imagine a computer crashing in the middle of processing all that data.
Oh, wow.
And potential instability during the training process.
Oh.
They even developed new techniques to ensure the model remained accurate and didn't become biased towards certain patterns in the data.
So it's not just about building a powerful AI, it's about building a reliable and trustworthy one.
Exactly. And the researchers were very conscious of these challenges throughout the development process. They've also been transparent about the limitations of the model, which we'll discuss later.
Now that we have a good grasp of how this AI detective works, let's move on to its capabilities.
Sure.
What can METAGENE-1 actually do with all this wastewater data?
Well, its primary function is pathogen detection.
Okay.
It can analyze wastewater samples and identify the presence of harmful bacteria or viruses, potentially giving us a much earlier warning of an outbreak.
Wow.
But that's just the beginning.
Oh.
It can also do something called genomic embedding.
Genomic embedding.
Which is a fancy way of saying it can create numerical representations of genetic sequences.
Hold on. So it's not just identifying organisms.
Right.
It's creating a sort of fingerprint for each genetic sequence.
Yeah, think of it like a fingerprint.
What's the advantage of that?
These fingerprints, or embeddings, allow researchers to compare different sequences and identify anomalies, things that are out of the ordinary.
Oh.
For example, it could help us detect new variants of a virus or even entirely new pathogens that we've never seen before.
Oh, wow.
In tests using the Gene-MTB benchmark,
Gene-MTB,
which assesses a model's ability to create usable embeddings. Okay.
METAGENE-1 showed particularly strong performance with human virus datasets.
Okay, I'm starting to see why this is such a big deal.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, if it's trained on wastewater, can it be used for other applications beyond pandemic monitoring?
That's what's so fascinating. While designed for wastewater, METAGENE-1 has surprised researchers with its versatility.
Really?
It's shown promise in other areas of genomic research, like predicting gene function.
Wow.
They even tested it using the Genome Understanding Evaluation, or GUE, benchmark.
GUE.
Which includes a variety of tasks like predicting gene function and regulatory elements. And while it needs some improvement in certain areas, it excelled in tasks like predicting epigenetic marks.
Epigenetic marks.
Which are modifications to DNA that can affect gene expression.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So it's not just a one-trick pony.
Definitely not.
Wow.
It's a multi-talented tool with the potential to impact various fields of biology.
Wow.
And this is just the beginning. I'm already impressed. But before we get too carried away, let's take a step back and talk about some of the potential downsides. With any powerful technology, there are always concerns, right?
Yeah.
What about the safety implications of an AI that can analyze genetic information on such a massive scale?
That's a great question, and one that researchers are actively grappling with. It's like we've entered a new era where science fiction is becoming reality.
Yeah.
And we need to be prepared for the implications.
Right.
We're not just talking about the technical capabilities of AI, but also the ethical responsibilities that come with it. So let's dive into those ethical considerations.
Okay.
What are some of the potential concerns that arise from using AI to analyze wastewater on such a large scale?
Yeah, that's a big question.
One of the biggest concerns is privacy.
Privacy?
While the wastewater data is aggregated and anonymized, meaning individual identities are removed, there's always a theoretical risk of re-identification.
Re-identification? You mean someone could potentially trace the genetic information back to a specific person?
It's a complex issue.
Yeah.
And the risk is considered low.
Okay.
But it's something we need to acknowledge.
Right.
As technology advances, it's essential to develop robust safeguards to protect individual privacy.
So it's a bit of a balancing act.
Yeah.
We want to harness the power of this technology for the greater good.
Right.
But we also need to make sure we're not compromising individual rights in the process.
Precisely. And that's why open dialogue and collaboration are so crucial.
Yeah.
Scientists, policymakers, and the public need to work together to establish clear guidelines and regulations for the responsible use of this technology.
So it's almost like we're writing the rule book as we go along.
Yeah.
Figuring out the best way to navigate this uncharted territory.
It's an exciting time, but also one that demands careful consideration.
Right.
We need to be proactive in addressing potential challenges before they become major problems.
Okay, so we've talked about privacy, but what about other limitations of the technology itself? Is METAGENE-1 a perfect system?
No system is perfect, and METAGENE-1 has its limitations.
Okay.
One thing to remember is that it was trained primarily on wastewater and multi-species genomic sequences.
Okay.
It's a specialist, not a generalist.
So while it excels at analyzing wastewater, it might not be the best tool for other types of genomic analysis.
Exactly. It would be like asking a heart surgeon to perform brain surgery. Each tool has its strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
Another limitation is that the model was trained on relatively short sequences of genetic code.
Right. Those snippets of genetic information we talked about earlier.
These short reads provide valuable insights,
Yeah.
but they don't always capture the full complexity of a genome. It's like trying to understand a novel by only reading a few sentences.
You miss the nuances, the context, the bigger picture.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So for tasks that require more comprehensive understanding of the genome, other models specifically designed for longer sequences might be more appropriate.
So it's a powerful tool, but it's not a magic bullet.
Right.
It has its specific strengths and limitations, which is important to keep in mind.
Yeah.
But I imagine the researchers are constantly working to improve the model.
Absolutely.
How so?
They're exploring some fascinating avenues for future research. One area they're particularly excited about is improving our understanding of how these genomic foundation models actually work.
Okay, now we're getting meta. We're
Yeah.
not just using AI,
Right.
but we're trying to understand the AI itself.
Exactly. It's like looking under the hood of a car to see how the engine works.
Hmm.
We want to know what features the model is focusing on,
Yeah.
how it makes decisions, and how we can make it even more reliable and transparent.
So it's not just about building a better AI,
Right.
but a more understandable and explainable AI.
Precisely. And this is where the field of mechanistic interpretability comes in.
Mechanistic interpretability.
Researchers are developing techniques to dissect these complex models and identify the biological features that drive their predictions. They're using tools like sparse autoencoders
Sparse autoencoder.
to pinpoint the most relevant parts of the genetic code,
Okay.
and attribution methods to trace the model's decisions back to specific genes or sequences.
So it's like having a decoder ring for the AI's thought process.
Exactly. And by cracking that code, we can gain a deeper understanding of how the model works and ensure that its predictions are grounded in solid biological evidence.
It's amazing to think that we're using AI to understand genomics, but we're also using genomics to understand AI. It's a fascinating loop.
And it highlights the collaborative nature of this research.
Right.
It's not just computer science or biology, but a fusion of both.
And speaking of collaboration, another important area of research is developing standardized evaluation methods for these models.
That's crucial.
Yeah, why is that?
Right now, it's difficult to objectively compare different models because there's no universal benchmark.
Right.
It's like trying to compare apples and oranges without a common scale.
We need a way to measure their sweetness, so to speak.
Exactly. And the researchers are working to create a comprehensive evaluation suite that includes tasks like classification, embedding, and, of course, pandemic monitoring.
Right.
This will help us identify the best models for specific tasks and drive further innovation in the field.
It's like a decathlon for AI, testing its skills across multiple disciplines.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears a bit
Okay.
and talk more about the practical applications of this technology.
Sure.
We've discussed the potential for early outbreak detection, but how would that actually work in the real world?
Imagine a scenario where METAGENE-1 is monitoring wastewater in a major city.
Okay.
It's constantly analyzing the genetic data, looking for anything unusual.
Right.
Suddenly, it detects a spike in a particular sequence that's not typically found in high concentrations.
Okay. Red alert. What happens next? Do we send in the hazmat suits?
Not quite. This anomaly triggers further investigation.
Okay.
Scientists would want to determine the source of this unusual sequence and whether it poses a threat. It could be a harmless mutation, a new variant of a known pathogen, or something entirely new.
So it's like a smoke detector going off.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean there's a fire, but it warrants a closer look.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of anomaly detection.
Yeah.
It allows us to proactively investigate potential threats before they become full-blown crises.
It's like having a team of microscopic detectives on the case, constantly searching for clues.
Precisely. And the more data we feed these AI detectives, the better they become at recognizing patterns and spotting anomalies.
This all sounds incredibly promising, but I can't help but wonder about the potential downsides.
Right.
We've touched on privacy concerns.
Yeah.
But are there other risks we need to consider? Could this technology be misused or lead to unintended consequences? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Every powerful tool has the potential for misuse, and this is no exception.
It's important to remember that METAGENE-1 is primarily a detection tool. It's designed to analyze existing genetic data, not create new organisms or engineer viruses.
So it's not like something out of a bioweapons lab?
No, not at all.
Okay.
The model is focused on understanding and interpreting genetic information, not manipulating it.
Okay.
That said, there's always a risk that someone could try to use the knowledge gained from this technology for malicious purposes.
That's a sobering thought. It's like any scientific breakthrough.
Right.
It could be used for good or for ill.
Exactly.
So how do we mitigate that risk?
Transparency and collaboration are key. The creators of METAGENE-1 have chosen to open source the model.
Open sourcing. Doesn't that make it easier for someone with bad intentions to get their hands on it?
It's a calculated risk, but the benefits outweigh the potential downsides.
Okay.
Open sourcing allows the global scientific community to scrutinize the model, identify potential vulnerabilities, and contribute to its development. Okay.
It's like having thousands of eyes watching, making it much harder for someone to misuse the technology without being detected.
So it's like a checks and balances system for AI.
Exactly. It fosters a culture of responsible innovation, where the focus is on using this technology for the benefit of humanity.
That's reassuring. It sounds like the creators of METAGENE-1 are taking the ethical implications very seriously.
They are, and so is the broader scientific community. There's a growing recognition that we need to be proactive in addressing the societal impact of these technologies.
It's not just about the science, it's about the human element as well.
Absolutely. We need open dialogue, clear guidelines, and ongoing monitoring to ensure that this technology is used responsibly and ethically.
It's almost like we're at a crossroads.
Yeah.
We have this incredibly powerful tool that could revolutionize public health, but we need to choose the right path forward.
It's a defining moment, and it's up to all of us to make sure we use this technology wisely. Well said. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from the technical details of how METAGENE-1 works to the ethical considerations we need to address.
It's been a fascinating journey into the world of AI, genomics, and the future of pandemic preparedness.
I have to admit, I'm still wrapping my head around the fact that we can analyze wastewater to predict outbreaks.
Yeah.
It's like something straight out of science fiction.
It is remarkable, and it highlights just how far we've come in our understanding of biology and technology.
If we can do this now, imagine what we'll be capable of in the future. It's both exciting and a little daunting.
It is, but I believe that as long as we approach these advancements with a sense of responsibility and a commitment to the greater good, we can harness their power to create a healthier and safer world.
Well said, and that's a perfect note to end on.
Yeah.
To our listeners, we encourage you to continue exploring this fascinating topic.
Absolutely.
We've included links to the original research paper and other resources in the show notes.
Stay curious, stay informed, and join the conversation about how we shape the future of science and technology.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive, and until next time, keep exploring the frontiers of knowledge.